It's time again for Oklahoma Sports Scene. From the new Wee Street Ice Center, Tulsa area's premier entertainment and dining complex, featuring one of the area's largest sports bars, Pucks. And hello again, everyone. I'm Chris Lincoln. Let's take a look at the show lineup for you. It starts with reminiscing with DT. Farewell for him, Tomkalski. For 4 decades, he's been the sports integration director at the University of Tulsa. Great stories, a lot of great interaction with coaches, athletic directors, and players. You're going to enjoy this. Indy 500 preview. The big race is coming up Sunday. And with Vaughan, our legendary race car driver here in Tulsa, founder of the Chili Bowl, had a chance to drive in the race. We'll talk about that. Preakness 149 made history as D. Wayne Lucas became the oldest trainer at age 88 to win the race in a big upset. We'll have a story on that with Randy Moss from NBC Sports. Rogers State softball continues to roll along. Andrea Vaughan, the outstanding coach, is here with 2 more trophies. Talk about the Hillcats championship season this year. And, of course, Dale Day with his Remington Race Report. But first, let's begin with our Tulsa World Hot Topics. Xander Schauffele dropped the 6-foot birdie putt on the final hole to win the 106th PGA Championship by 1 shot over Bryson DeChambeau. And the former OSU Cowboy star Victor Hovland was 3 shots back in third. It was Schauffele's first major win, helped by his record 62 in the opening round, the Valhalla course in Louisville, Kentucky. Last Saturday, they ran the second jewel of racing's Triple Crown, the 149th Preakness Stakes, won by a 9-1 long shot, Seize the Gray, with 88-year-old Hall of Fame trainer D. Wayne Lucas making history. A complete recap with NBC Sports' Randy Moss. The National Football League released its 272-game 2024 schedule. It starts on the first Thursday night in September. The 5th of September, the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs host the Baltimore Ravens at the rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. The next day, September 6th, the NFL hosts its first game ever in Brazil. Philadelphia Eagles against the Green Bay Packers. It's the first of 5 international games for the NFL this season. There'll be 3 more in London and another one in Munich, Germany. Big 12 posted the highest winning percentage of any conference in this past week's regionals for softball, 81.3%, as OU, OSU, Texas, and Baylor all have advanced to the NCAA Super Regionals this week. Number 2 ranked Sooners, 3-0 sweep in the Norman Regional, sent OU to its 14th straight Super Regional this weekend. And the 5th-seeded Cowgirls host future Big 12 member Arizona in Stillwater for a best 2 out of 3, the trip to the College World Series on the line. Baseball for the Big 12, the Phillips Big 12 Baseball Championship underway at Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas. Regular season champion, the Sooners, the number 1 seed, followed by Oklahoma State, number 2, and Texas, number 3. The field, by the way, has been increased to 10 teams, playing a modified double elimination format. The championship game for the Big 12 this Saturday, May 25th, 6 p.m. on ESPNU. After finishing off a 6-game homestand with a 4-2 record against rival Wichita, the last 3 games that were won by the Drillers there on the Oklahoma One Oak Field. Tulsa Drillers are in Springfield now for 6 games against the division-leading Cardinals. Tulsa with a 16-21 record started the week 5.5 games behind the Cards in Texas League North Division. Tulsa comes back to One Oak Field to celebrate Memorial Day, Monday the 27th, getting a series of Northwest Arkansas underway. Tulsa Indoor Professional Football League team, the Oilers, played its second of 3 straight road games at San Antonio last Saturday. They lost 54-43. They finished the month of May with a game in Massachusetts, and the next home game, June the 1st. By the way, that game, first 1,000 fans get Tulsa Oiler t-shirts. FC Tulsa's 3-game unbeaten streak ended last Saturday in Tampa Bay. Rowdies winning 5-0. Home team scored in the first 11 minutes of the match, built a 4-0 halftime lead. FC Tulsa has a home match this Friday, May 24th, against Oakland Roots FC before heading out to Leesburg, Virginia to meet Loudoun United FC a week from Saturday, June the 1st. Coming up next, you won't want to miss it, DT's 40 years at TU. Straight ahead.
Our story. It lives in Tulsa, where the spirit of the past lives alongside us and urges us on toward a vibrant future. Because our story is still being written. It's the story of Tulsa, told by the journalists who live it and love it. Whether it's covering our rich history, bringing you the hidden gems of the food scene, or following the action in local sports. And here, in the Tulsa world, is where it comes to life.
As the sun rises over eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
The 2024 Remington Park Spring Quarter Horse season continues at Remington Park. The top horses in quarter horse racing are featured on Champions Night at Remington Park. Saturday, June 1st, is also the final night of the spring season with 7 Grade 1 stakes events led by the $1 Million Heritage Place Futurity. Thursday through Sunday, first race at 6 p.m. and Sundays at 4 p.m. Champions Night racing on June 1st will begin at 5 p.m. The best racing, simulcast racing, and jackpot casino action is all at Remington Park.
For 40 years, 4 decades, this man has been behind the scenes for Tulsa University athletic directors, coaches, athletes, but now he's the headline. Don Tomkalski. He's getting ready to retire at the end of this month. Don, congratulations on the retirement, and thanks for all
Chris,
you've done for
appreciate
TU.
it. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Had a great send-off for you last week at the university, and I looked up at the scoreboard there. There's DT on the scoreboard.
Yeah, that was scary, wasn't it? No, it was real nice to see a lot of people that have crossed my paths over the years, and I appreciate Rick Dixon and Mina who put that together, and it was a fun deal to see a lot of people.
Why was this the right time to step away after 40 years?
You know, we started talking about it a couple years ago, my wife and I, and just 40 seemed like the right time. You know, and I was thinking of, I informed Rick in the university in February that I was going to, you know, that I decided to retire. And it's, you know, I think I know I made the right decision, and what kept on coming back to me was, you know, Wayne McCombs.
Oh, yeah.
And Wayne had retired a year earlier before his passing, and young at 70 and good shape, and I just kept on thinking about that, and I'm like, you know what, I don't want to be in that spot, and I want to retire where I have enough time, and my wife has sacrificed so much. You know how it is in athletics,
yeah.
and Gary Ann has sacrificed so much, and I figured, you know, now, you know, she doesn't have to be in the stands by herself or with friends. She can be with her husband, or we can be at home watching stuff, or, you know, she's a Razorback fan, so we can go to some Razorback games,
Nice,
you know.
Yeah.
But it was just time. You know, 40 years is a long time to be in one spot.
Let's go back to the beginning. A native of Cleveland, Ohio, came to Tulsa in 1984 as a assistant SID, and within months you were the SID. How'd that happen so quickly?
Yeah, you know, I actually came as an intern.
Okay, yeah.
And that first month, they moved me into an assistant position, and then the Oklahoma Outlaws was here at the time.
Those games, that's right.
Cal Kufal hired me to come down,
Uh-huh.
at first as an intern, and then it turned into an assistant position. And at that time, right in that, you know, that March, April, Bill Wall, who was the business manager at TU,
Right.
moved to the Oilers. And Cal moved up to the business manager, and they moved me up to the SID position. So, you know, it was John Cooper who hired me.
Yeah.
I still have John Cooper's letter.
Oh, I
you
know.
know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it worked. You know, I initially worked an internship with the Detroit Pistons
Right.
before I came here, and pro basketball is where I wanted to go.
Okay, yeah.
And then when I got here and you know, got around the college atmosphere and the change of seasons and all that, I decided, you know, this is for me, and, you know, the rest is history.
DT has been responsible for the coverage and publicity and promotion of 17 TU Division I sports, and in his 40 years, this list is really impressive. We're going to go through these. He's worked for 10 different athletic directors, 10 head football coaches, and I believe it's 11 men's basketball coaches. Take a look at the list now, starting with the athletic directors. And DT, some of your comments, you mentioned John Cooper. The first one, his last year, I believe, was your first.
It was, you know, I came in January of '84, and his last season was '84, and then they hired, there was an interim in between, I believe, but then they, you know, Emery Turner kind of moved in that spot, who had been the interim before, and the vice president of the university, and then John Ben was hired. John Ben actually was an attorney from out of state, and the university got to know John a lot through, he was the attorney for J.D. Barnett.
Oh, yeah.
And J.D. Barnett was hired when Nolan left.
Yep.
And so John Ben moved into that spot, and then Rick Dixon came in as assistant AD.
1990, yeah.
Yeah, and he actually came, I think, in 88 or 80, right around 88 or 89. And Mike Davis, who was a vice president under Pascal Twyman, and then when Pascal Twyman passed away unexpectedly, Mike moved into that spot, and he brought Rick on, and then Rick just took over as AD. Chris Small was an interim AD between Rick and Judy McLeod, and then Bubba Cunningham after Judy. And
Judy became the first female commissioner of any major sports league right after leaving TU.
She did. Conference, of Conference USA, and she moved there as associate commissioner.
Right.
And then when Britton Banowski decided to retire or move on, she took over that spot, and it has been there ever since. Done a nice job.
Bubba Cunningham, during his reign at TU as athletic director, working with DT here, 2005, 2011, it was a great times for TU. 34 league championships.
Those are some great times. His initial day or his initial week, I believe, was the 2005 championship game against UCF.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that was Judy's going out and Bubba's coming in. And we had a lot of success then, and it was fun to work with him, and he both, all the athletic directors have done a lot for me, but Judy and Bubba really did a lot for me in my career.
Bubba now doing a great job as the athletic director at the University of North Carolina with the Tar Heels now. And then, of course, Rick Dixon, take two, came back in 2020, and now here DT is retiring, so now Rick has to retire too, right?
Well, I'll let a little cat out of the bag here.
Yeah.
Hopefully he won't be upset at this, but when I told Rick in February that I was retiring, he said, "Oh, you're going to beat me by a month."
Wow.
So, we all had an idea,
right,
because he said, "Hey, I'm going to come and help the university and get us back on pace." And he signed that 3-year deal with this as the end of that 3 years. So some of us kind of figured, this would be it, but you never know with Rick.
Don Tomkalski, 4 decades at University of Tulsa Athletics. We're back with more of those stories. Take a look at some of the head coaches he's worked with. There's also some of the basketball coaches, some of the great stories, and a few special ones too, I'm sure, from DT. Right after the break.
It's time. Time to get back to the basics. Time to meet up with family and friends. Time to play ball. It's time to cheer on your Tulsa Drillers. It's Hornsby time. It's Tulsa time in the heart of the city. It's time to fire it up.
Founded in 1960, Ed Bechera's Formal Wear and Fine Clothing has been dressing gentlemen for over half a century. We are family owned and operated, offering premium brand tuxedos and accessories in our Tulsa store on South Harvard. Bechera's also does made-to-measure suits, sports coats, dress shirts and slacks, and a top line of sportswear. We do tailoring on site to assure the perfect fit so you will look your very best for that special occasion. Ed Bechera's Formal Wear and Fine Clothing, an Oklahoma tradition.
Are you ready for some hard-hitting indoor football action with the Tulsa Oilers? Saturday night, June 1st, 7:05 at the BOK Center is Military Night. Let's rally behind the team as they take on the San Diego Strike Force. The first 1,000 fans get a Tulsa Oilers t-shirt. That's right, a Tulsa Oilers t-shirt. Don't miss the action. Tickets are on sale now at TulsaOilersFootball.com. That's TulsaOilersFootball.com. Experience the fast-paced, helmet-hitting, pad-popping excitement of Tulsa Oilers indoor football.
The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, home of the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, is a treasure trove of memorabilia honoring Oklahoma sports legends. For museum hours or to schedule a tour, go to oklahomasportshalloffame.org.
Don Tomkalski, 40 years, the Sports Innovation Director at the University of Tulsa. Been part of my life for a long time here too, and I came even before him a little bit at DT. But close to you, you've been a great assistant. Really have been great.
Well, we appreciate it. That's our job. Help the media, and I think that's and help our student athletes.
And I love the way you
try
guys
to promote our student athletes.
Incredible media, guys. This is one we get for football. You think we all know those stuff? No, DT schools up basketball as well, and you're one of the few schools that still doing the hard covers, aren't you?
Well, yeah, we only printed a few,
right.
Just for our use, kind of.
Yeah.
But it's online.
Right.
You know, anyone can go online and get it. That's just the way it is now. You know,
I know.
I like a hard copy, whereas the newer generation.
I hold on to the hard copy.
Yeah.
To understand.
So we just printed a few, and
I mentioned 10 football coaches you worked with through the years, dating back to John Cook in '84. Had a great run here. Look at some of the seasons here. Dave Rader. I didn't realize Dave Rader 12 seasons at TU.
Long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 bowl trips in there.
I've got a story on him
Yeah.
after
Oh, great. Yeah.
When he was hired, George Henshaw came from Alabama the year before in '87,
Right.
and he brought Dave with him,
Yep.
knowing he was a TU alum and all, and he was with George at Alabama.
Quarterback coach, I think.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so when George left, who's the coach? Who's the coach? Well, one afternoon, our offices were upstairs in the old Maybe gym on the east side, and I got a call from the president's office. So I'm leaving my office, headed to the president's office, and coming down the hallway is Dave Rader. I said, "Coach, where are you going?" Well, he's going to the president's office. And so we're both like, all right, what does this mean?
Yes.
So we got to the president's office, and basically it was a handshake between the president and Dave Rader as our new head football coach. And the press conference that night was no press conference. We had media out to Dave's home.
Nice.
That was pretty much it.
I love that. Steve Craigthorpe, 4 seasons here, a Conference USA title, 3 bowl trips. He's a heck of a coach, and followed by Todd Graham, who had 2 USA titles, 1 shared title, and 3 bowl trips.
Yeah, that was a fun period of time. When Coach Craigthorpe came in that 2003 season, we had won 1 game the year before and 1 game the year before that. And he wins 8 games. We finish second in the league. We go to the Humanitarian Bowl. Not the outcome we wanted, but he turned the program back. And Todd just carried it on, and some of the coaches now have carried it on.
And another TU legacy guy, of course, Bill Blankenship, quarterback with the Golden Hurricane, became the head coach from 2011 to 2013. Won a championship, had 3 bowl trips too.
Yeah, and everyone remembers that 2012 or 2011, the Liberty Bowl.
Right. Yeah.
And 2012, and that was just a great game. Great season. It was a lot of fun.
Basketball coaches kind of started in the industry with Nolan Richardson. He really re-energized TU basketball.
Yeah, I came in January of '84, and he was there 1 year.
Right.
And it was just, it was electric back then.
Polka
but even
dots
before I came, obviously, when he came in '80, and that win against Louisville, that early part of the season, who was a defending national champion, and this town went nuts. By all indications, you'd have a better idea than me. But
I remember I called the NIT championship game in Madison Square Garden when he won that in 1981. So some great memories there. He works with some incredible basketball coaches named Tubby Smith, Bill Self, Buzz Peterson, John Phillips, Doug Wojcik, Danny Manning, now Eric Conkle.
Yeah, some great coaches, great people.
Yeah.
And for the most part, been able to sustain a lot of success. Obviously, we need to get back to the NCAA tournament. And
right, sure.
I think, this day and age, it's tougher. But I think Eric's a guy that can get that done.
Some of your favorite stories, some kind of humorous ones you might share with us here, DT?
Oh, man. I'm going to start out with a somber one. But in '86, I believe it was, we played a Thursday night game against Long Beach State. And such a great young man, Marcus Anderson, he suffered a broken neck. And, to see him come back and walk around campus, he had the halo brace on and just had a smile on his face.
Gosh.
And just to see that, that was so early in my career as a young SID,
right,
and as a young person, and he was just, close to my age. That was just heartbreaking, but just to see how he responded was incredible. Nolan Richardson, we were in Wichita, and the rivalry with Wichita was not a friendly one.
Nasty, yeah.
It was very nasty.
It was.
And they had nasty fans.
Yeah.
And after a game, we were up there. Nolan was throwing some words, and the guy he was, I'm looking and he's saying, DT, it's okay.
Wow, yeah.
And it was unbelievable to witness that, because I never witnessed that.
Sure, right, yeah.
And I was around a lot of pro athletes and a lot of different people and a lot of crowds growing up with the Cleveland Cavaliers and working with them as a kid. But I did not, but he just handled it with class.
Not surprising.
Not surprising at all.
We're wrapping up here. I just got to ask you real quickly, what has this university, this town meant to Don Tomkalski and your family?
Oh, it's meant the world. I came here and the good Lord brought me here. And I met my wife.
Right.
And, she's a sweetheart and the best thing in my life. And I decided I wanted to stay here because her family is here. Her mom moved to town. She's been here over 25 years or
nice.
so.
So you'll stay here?
We'll stay here at this point, yeah.
Good to hear.
And so that was important for me to have her with family close since I'm gone so much. Yeah. And, great people, great university. I've been treated well. Media have been awesome to work with.
Well, we thank you for all you've done for TU,
thank you,
for all those media stuff.
I appreciate it.
Don Tomkalski, one of the TU legends, retiring, and he followed soon by the athletic director, Rick Dixon. We're going to come back with a legendary race, the Preakness Stakes. Review that with Randy Moss from NBC Sports when we come right back on Oklahoma Sports Scene.
You've seen the billboards, you've heard the hype, and now it's time for the Wee Street Ice Center to open its doors and welcome you in. 140,000 square feet, 2 ice rinks, public skating, hockey, arcade, game simulators, and the largest sports bar and grill is sliding into Tulsa. It's the grand opening of the new Wee Street Ice Center, 43rd and Yale. Make your plans, get your skate on, or watch some sports today. The Wee Street Ice Center, now open and ready to serve you. Wee Street Ice Center, 43rd and Yale.
Around the clock, throughout eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
Around the far turn they go, and it is still Seize the Gray who leads the way for Dwayne Lucas, and has been there every step of the way so far. Mystic Dan has made a move, and now he's just to the outside. He's taken second. Then comes Imagination in third as they come to the top of the stretch. Seize the Gray turning for home in front. Mystic Dan confronts him, catching Freedom, now right behind and swinging to the outside. Seize the Gray is still there. Mystic Dan bearing down on the outside. Seize the Gray won't go away. Mystic Dan catching Freedom, moving down the center of the track. But Wade Lucas has done it. Seize the Gray wins the Preakness. Oh my! It was a photo behind him, Mystic Dan catching Freedom. The 88-year-old legend Wade Lucas has done it.
And Triple Crown history made it to Preakness. Dwayne Lucas became the oldest trainer at 88 to win a Triple Crown race. By the way, that was his 15th, his 7th Preakness. What about the race itself? Well, we talked to our NBC analyst, Randy Moss. The race between Seize the Gray on the lead, number 6, and the Kentucky Derby winner, number 5, Mystic Dan, closing fast. We asked, though, Randy, what was the key to this race?
The key part of the race, Chris, was that he was able to control the early pace, primarily because none of the other riders in the race, none of the other trainers in the race really considered Seize the Gray to be a legitimate threat to win. So they pretty much left him alone on the front end and didn't really try to go after him, thinking that they could just get him anytime they wanted him, and they just let him set the pace. And as it turned out, whether it was because of the muddy track, and it was an extremely muddy track, or just an improving horse, or Wayne Lucas, for whatever reason, the horse ran by far the best race of his life. It was the first time in his life he had ever been allowed to control the early pace in a race, and maybe that had something to do with it as well. But I would say it was a pretty shocking upset.
How does the coach, Dwayne Lucas, keep doing it year after year after year and coming up on his 89th birthday? Just amazing.
You know, out of all the possible storylines for the race, you know, when you go through them and you say, okay, what result in the Preakness would be the best from a storyline perspective? And that was it, hands down. I mean, not just, you know, the 88-year-old training legend, but an ownership group that consists of 2,570 micro share owners through My Racehorse. You know, I mean, they're just all these things sort of seem to converge, as they often do in horse racing, into one improbable outcome, but one fantastic story.
That is a great story about the ownership group, the My Racehorse, and I don't know how they split up the 1.3 million purse with 2,570 owners.
That's how you're not going to make a lot of money being involved in My Racehorse with micro shares of horses, but you can have a darn good time. And as you could tell from the people that made the trip, that were in the winner's circle and that were interviewed on NBC, they all had a fabulous time with it. One of the reasons why the horse was so difficult to come up with on paper, aside from the fact that he'd never run a race that fast before, is that because of that ownership group, so many people, the thought was, and I think it was probably a pretty accurate thought, that one of the primary reasons the horse was even entered in the Preakness at all was that Wayne Lucas wanted to give those owners the experience of being able to run their horse in a classic race. I mean, he had tried to get the horse into the Kentucky Derby. He ran him in the Jeff Ruby. He shipped him from Oaklawn to run him in the Jeff Ruby because he thought it would be the best chance to get him points. And he ran decently in the Jeff Ruby, but still didn't have enough points. So Wayne ran him back 2 weeks later in the Bluegrass, trying to get more points. And the horse finished 7th and came up with 0 points in that race. And that's really the only reason why he wasn't in the Kentucky Derby. He ran on the undercard instead in the Pat Day Mile. He won that. He wasn't the favorite, but he won that race. There wasn't going to be an overflow field in the Preakness, so he was going to be able to get in. And people just assumed that he was running in the race, not because Wayne thought that the horse was just doing fantastically and, you know, it wasn't out of character or anything like that. It's just that he wanted to give the owners a chance to experience that. And that's why, in part, why the horse was overlooked by so many people.
So, Randy, what does this all mean now for the 156 Belmont Stakes in 3 weeks on June the 8th? Not even run in New York, of course. Belmont shut down for a big renovation project, which God knows it needed. But now, of course, you don't have a Triple Crown chance. So what's all this mean? That it's not NBC's problem; it's Fox's problem right now.
It's fine. Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, first of all, anybody that's been following Wayne Lucas for any length of time knows that if Seize the Gray is doing okay, he will be in the Belmont Stakes. Wayne likes to dance all those dances as often as he can.
Not a mile and a half, right? Because
it's at a mile and a quarter this year, which to me is a mistake. But it's because of the configuration of Saratoga while Belmont's under construction. Belmont obviously is a mile and a half oval, so it's easy to run a mile and a half race. They just start at the finish line. At Saratoga's only 1.125 miles in circumference, and it makes a 1.5 mile race a little trickier. They would have to start it at the midway point of the stretch turn. Tracks don't like to start races on a turn. Although the last time Belmont was renovated back in the mid 1960s, they ran the Belmont Stakes at Aqueduct, which is also 1.125 miles in circumference, and they kept it 1.5 miles, and they started it on the turn. I think what make it a little easier for NYRA to make this call is the COVID Belmont Stakes in 2020, which was backed up in distance from 1.5 miles to 1.125 miles. And the world didn't come to an end. The Earth continued to rotate. So I think NYRA figured, okay, for a couple of years while Belmont's under construction, we'll just run the Belmont Stakes at 1.25 miles. It's going to be a bigger field, I think, than it would have been at 1.5 miles. It's a race. Yeah, I'm not sure Lucas would run in the Belmont if it were 1.5 miles for Seize the Gray. But he'll probably be in the Belmont, and so will Sierra Leone, and it'll be a better field than it was in the Preakness Stakes, as happens almost every year nowadays because of the spacing of the Triple Crown races. So it'll be a fun race, just with no Triple Crown possibility.
Derby winner's coming back?
The Derby winner, that would be up in the air. Again, at 1.25 miles, I think Mystic Dan would have a better chance than he would have if the race were at 1.5 miles. I would lean toward probably not, but Kenny McPeak has been pretty aggressive in the past, and if Mystic Dan bounces back well out of the Preakness Stakes, I guess it would be a possibility. If I was making the line, I would say that they would wait for the summer races. But he ran really well off a 2-week layoff in the Preakness. He really did. He fought. He pretty much ran his race, and the coach on the muddy track just outran him.
Loved it. Randy, you and the NBC group did a great job for the Derby and Preakness coverage. I'm going to probably call you for the Belmont anyway. You're still our man. But thanks again for taking the time, and it's been exciting. And we don't have a Triple Crown winner. We got the Belmont to look forward to wrap this 3-year-old season up for us. Thank you, buddy.
There you go. Good to see you again, Chris, even if it's only by Zoom. Take care.
Tulsa auto racing legend Emmett Hahn talks about this Sunday's Indianapolis 500 with some Tulsa ties. That's next.
The Remington Park Casino is always open for jackpot gaming. The winning action never ends. Enjoy great food and drinks in the Bricktown Brewery, open daily at 11 a.m. Simulcast racing is offered every day, featuring North America's best tracks. Visit the Club Remington desk for player card membership and begin earning points and rewards. The jackpots are always flowing. The next one could be yours at Remington Park.
Are you ready for some hard-hitting indoor football action with the Tulsa Oilers? Saturday night, June 1st, 7:05 at the BOK Center is Military Night. Let's rally behind the team as they take on the San Diego Strike Force. The first 1,000 fans get a Tulsa Oilers t-shirt. That's right, a Tulsa Oilers t-shirt. Don't miss the action. Tickets are on sale now at TulsaOilersFootball.com. That's TulsaOilersFootball.com. Experience the fast-paced, helmet-hitting, pad-popping excitement of Tulsa Oilers indoor football.
The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, home of the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, is a treasure trove of memorabilia honoring Oklahoma sports legends. For museum hours or to schedule a tour, go to oklahomasportshalloffame.org.
It is known as the greatest spectacle in racing. This Sunday's 108th running of the Indianapolis 500. Who better to talk about it around here than Emmett Hahn? Veteran race car driver, of course, a legendary sprint car driver, founder of the Chili Bowl. Emmett Hahn gives us some of the Oklahoma ties to the Indy 500 and his one shot to drive in this race.
Mr. Zink gave me an opportunity in 1973 for him and Bradham to put together a team to go run the Speedway. And at that time, their safety record wasn't the best in the world. And I thanked them for the opportunity, and I was racing for a hobby. Had a wife and 3 little kids, and so I turned it down.
And John Zink, of course, is a 2-time Indianapolis 500 winner as an owner.
He was very instrumental up there at the Speedway. He won back-to-back Indy 500s up there. I think it was 54, 55, 55, 56, somewhere in there.
56, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, amazing. And, of course, he also had
Guy from Moreland, Oklahoma, the only native Oklahoman as a driver to win the Indianapolis 500. Made history back in 1952 winning the Indy 500. He was not only the couple of notables instead of that race, Emmett. It was the last dirt track type championship car race at Indy, and he was at 22 years, 80 days, the youngest, and still the youngest ever to win the Indianapolis 500. Quite a feat.
Yes, it is. You know, and I just seen Troy Rutherford on the racing deal the other day, and he's won Indy several times, and he's not from Tulsa, but he lived over there about 5th and Yale for many years.
Well, we keep seeing the Chili Bowl has an impact in all auto racing, including in this field for the Indianapolis 500 this year.
We got four drivers that has ran the Indy that's running Indy this year that has ran the Chili Bowl. So, and then what's ironic, Tony George, which just sold the Speedway to Penske Corporation several years ago, Tony George even ran the Chili Bowl years ago.
Well, I can tell you, I've had a couple laps the Indy 500, actually just around the track. You know that little tour bus they give you? You go around the track.
Yeah.
Those banks are unbelievable at Indy. Wow.
I tell you what, not only that, but when you come off a corner right there and you look down to the next corner, them straightaways are so long, it looks like you're looking down into a tunnel or a funnel.
Yeah, they said the Indy 500, of course, is 200 laps, 500 miles. That is 2.5 miles around that huge oval. It's so big. They have a golf course inside the track, right?
I have played golf up there while some NASCAR was out there tire testing. It's a good golf course.
They say the four corners are banked at 9 degrees, 12 minutes, more like a road course than an oval, they say, but each of the corners is different. Straightaways are, you talk about 5/8 of a mile long. It's just barely time to catch your breath. What are the speeds at Indy?
This year, I don't know what their top speed is down the straightaway. I know here at practice, they've run 228 mile an hour so far. So that's an average speed, you know, and it's not like a corner like on what we're used to at a dirt track. This thing has 4 corners up there. You know, it's got the little short straightaways. So I don't know whether that's to catch their breath. I'm not sure what they're for.
What makes this, Emmett, the greatest spectacle in racing, the most prized of all the motorsports events?
I think it's just back in the day, it was that's what every racer, his goal was to go run a speedway. And I remember when I was up there with the Zinc Company, getting to help them on the car back in '67. I know they had the Coca-Cola 600 that evening, and I thought, why in the world would NASCAR be going head to head with Indy? You know, but I mean, that's just how big Indy was back in the day. You know, Granatelli, the SDP, and then they brought the turbines in, and it's just back then it was just a who's who in auto racing.
Well, the big race, of course, is this Sunday. It'll be on NBC starting at 10 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon for those 500 laps. But really, Indy is much more than one day in it. And they started the first day of practice. In fact, they opened the track for practice back on May the 14th.
Well, you know, they done that. They had a lot of practice up there. Then of course, they have their rookie days up there. You know, when you take your rookie test up there, what people don't really think about or realize is they'll tell you that when you're a rookie, you look in your mirror about every 3 or 4 seconds to see if anybody's coming up on you. They come up that quick. And I haven't run that, but I've run a mile on dirt where you're running pretty fast, and it would be like NASCAR. When you're out there running at them speeds and you got a car next to you, it's almost like slow motion. And I tell everybody it's kind of like slow motion when you're on these big racetracks until something bad happens, then they fast forward on you. When something happens, you have brakes. That's just to make you feel good. It don't slow you down.
You were some kind of sprint racer back in your day, and I look back on some of the accomplishments there. Twice champion of the NCRA, 5-time Tulsa track champion, super modified champion in Oklahoma City, 3-time winner of the Hutchinson Nationals. And then you really got the sprint cars kind of organized, and you now, of course, are in the Hall of Fame for that. But so many sprint car drivers made the movement on to Indy and running the 500.
Well, yes. I mean, it's I've got some accomplishments out there, and just the fact that I had the opportunity to run Indy. So many of our guys around here, there's just been a handful of dirt people. You know, back in the day there was a lot of dirt people running. Now then, we got a lot of people up there running that I have trouble pronouncing their names. But back in the AJ Foyt, the Parnelli Jones, and them days, that was when I knew everybody. I'd sit by my radio. They'd give you a 10-lap update on who was running where back in the day, and it was just such a neat deal.
They say it's not like any other type of racing, though. It's hard for drivers to come out of NASCAR. We've seen them try that. We've seen the big model, the World Series, the guys who come up from Monte Carlo and stuff running those cars, and just different than Indy.
It is, and I'm anxious to see this year Kyle Larson. He's going up there for the first time, and I tell you what, he was up to speed. He didn't get to run the 2 days ago, I think, or a couple of days ago, when they was doing drafting, and that's when they run the quickest. And he was off racing a sprint car, but I think Kyle Larson. I think he may surprise some people. Kyle Larson is like Tony Stewart, an AJ Foyt, Steve Kendra. I mean, they could just run just about any type of car and be successful in it. And I think Kyle may surprise a lot of people this year at Indy.
He's had a great record here with us at the Chili Bowl.
I mean, he's won a several of them, and one year he had it won and thought he got the checker and got beat, you know. But he's a racer. And we got another kid coming up from California, this Corey Day. He's going to be another Tony Stewart, Kyle Larson. He's just graduating high school this year, but he's a name that you'll hear about here in the future.
Well, for sure, Emmett, this is a race that requires some deep pockets. What do you need to run an Indy car for the 500? Getting ready all month, all the preparation, driver fees, entry fees. What are you talking about? How many? Is it millions or more?
Oh, millions. And I couldn't tell you how much they have in that. Jackie Howerton here in Tulsa, when he was up there at Indy, he repaired Indy cars when they crashed them, and made him an awful good living at it. But I know years ago in NASCAR, I was talking with Richard Petty, and back then it took $400,000 per race is what it costs to run a NASCAR. So these Indy cars, it's hard to tell.
I didn't realize that, but they said they don't buy their engines, and they only buy them from either Chevy or Honda. They lease those engines, and of course they better have two, because one blows up, you got to have one to put back in there.
There you go. Yeah, so much of that's on a lease program that it's just racing is so much different nowadays than it used to be. I remember one of our dirt guys went up there and run, and he had a V8 Chevrolet, and they talked about it during the speedway. That engine, the block came out of a school bus, you know. Well, them days are over.
Well, Emmett, I know. Would you be tempted, though? They said some of these international drivers, past champion drivers, they offered up to $500,000 to ride in their car in an Indy 500. Could they get Emmett Hunt out of retirement, put you in one of those for $500,000?
Well, I think I'll just stay on welfare.
You just stay running our Chili Bowl. You're doing great things with that. Thanks for talking about Indy 500 with us. I know you'll be watching on Monday, the greatest Sunday, the greatest spectacle in racing, the 108th Indianapolis 500. Emmett, thanks for joining us.
It'll be a great show, Chris.
Thank you, my friend. We'll be right back with more on Oklahoma Sports Scene after our break.
The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, home of the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, is a treasure trove of memorabilia honoring Oklahoma sports legends. For museum hours or to schedule a tour, go to oklahomasportshalloffame.org.
It's time. Time to get back to the basics. Time to meet up with family and friends. Time to play ball. It's time to cheer on your Tulsa Drillers. It's Hornsby time. It's Tulsa time in the heart of the city. It's time to fire it up.
As the sun rises over eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
And welcome back to Oklahoma Sports Scene set. Andrea Vaughan, head coach of the Red Rogers State Hillcat softball team. Andrea, I can't believe it's been 2 years. Came here with your national championship trophy, the only one, by the way, in school history at RSU. And come back now with 2 more trophies. What are these trophies?
Well, this one right here is the regular season conference champions. We were able to do that this year for the first time in school history. So we only had 3 losses in conference. So that was a very big deal. And then this one here is the conference tournament championship.
46-12. Got into the regionals again and had a shot to get to the World Series and stumbled with a pretty good August end team that I guess was pretty tough pitching team.
Yes, I mean, they had a very good pitcher in the circle. We just couldn't seem to time her up. We couldn't seem to punch the runs across that we needed to. And they're at the World Series right now. I just watched them play today. And, you know, we're hoping that they make a good run in support of our region.
All right, so how do you wrap up this 9th season as head coach?
It's been such a journey. And just so grateful for just how our program has elevated and where we're at today. We're looking forward to continued success and just couldn't be more grateful for being at Rogers State and for all that we have accomplished.
Well, in 2022, you mentioned they were the first team in the school history at Rogers State to win a national championship. Did that in softball there. Then they have now all-time leader in wins for the program. 3 straight 40-plus win seasons Andrea has. You have 321 career victories by my count at least. Put the program really in national prominence in Division II.
Well, thank you for that. You can't do it without great players. Yeah. We've had a lot of really phenomenal players come through the program and lay the foundation for where we're at today. We've got more coming in, and it's just an exciting time for RSU softball. But again, can't do it without great players and without great coaches around you.
And of course, we mentioned it all starts with the players, you understand. And taking a look at that, you coach now, my gosh, at least 5 All-Americans, probably add a couple more at the end of this season. National Player of the Year. You've had 8 conference players of the year. They're going to add more to that as well. 2 regional players of the year, and more of that. We'll add more of that as well. So tell us about your top players here for this 2024 squad. And I guess it starts with that incredible picture of yours.
Yeah, Sarah Yamashal was phenomenal in the circle for us this year. We look for her to be an All-American for us again. Those results haven't come out yet, but was named MIAA Pitcher of the Year for the 2nd year in a row, which our conference is so tough. She led the conference all year in ERA, and actually our entire staff led the conference in ERA. We were very proud of how she just performed, and you know, she's one of the best in the nation. So we're sad to see her go, but she brought a lot to Rogers State, and we're thankful for the success that she helped bring to us.
Sarah was a 23-game winner this season. The other 2 pitchers weren't too bad either.
Our other pitchers were very good in the circle. Jade Sanders and Harley Cooley both helped keep our ERA at the top of the conference. Both very good records. Harley was actually number 3 in the nation in ERA at one point. So just very proud of all 3 of them.
Offensively, you had 3 hitters over 300. Paxton Donaldson, all conference, 364. Abby Rogers, all conference, all region, 343. Kaylee Lyon, right, at 315. And also RBI 47, home run leader, Kaylee Yellen as well, all conference. So quite a good offensive punch there, too.
Yeah, we had just some really good numbers from those 4 that you mentioned. Callie Yellen has been a staple for our program since she stepped foot on campus. Abby Rogers, another big punch in the lineup for us, was a part of our national championship team along with Callie Yellen. Kaylee Lyon was just a really nice addition. She transferred into us from Texas Tech and was a big stick in our lineup, put up some really big numbers for us. And then Paxton Donaldson led our team in batting average all season. She put up some great numbers for us and was a fantastic leadoff for our program this year.
Andrea Vaughan, the head softball coach at Rogers State University. What's the outlook now, Coach, for your 10th season? Can you believe that? 2025.
Time flies.
It does,
Time
yes.
flies. I'm very excited about the players that we have coming in. We've got 4 freshmen that we'll be adding to the roster. So I'm excited to get some young ones in there, mold them, and allow them to be impact players for this program. And then, of course, we'll have some transfers that we'll have that we'll add to the roster. But we've got the bulk of our lineup coming back, the bulk of our roster coming back. Just need to add a couple more key pieces, and I look for us to have another strong run again.
And finally, how good is softball in the state of Oklahoma, from the top OU, OSU, the Division II, to the high school ranks?
It's strong across the state. You look at OU, powerhouse, OSU, powerhouse. TU had a phenomenal year this year. Rogers State, you have Murray State, who's back at the World Series for, gosh, I don't know how many years in a row. They've only had 5 losses on the season. I think they've got a good shot to win it. And then Oklahoma City University, another good run. They're at the World Series, and then USAO also at the NAIA World Series.
Well, they're building a statue to Patty Gasso. Come on, Rogers State. Might think one for Andrea Vaughan. She's earning it for sure. Andrea, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Bringing those trophies again. Come back next year, maybe with the big trophy, too.
Thank you.
Andrea, thank you much. Andrea Vaughan, go Hillcats. Right back with Dale Dana's Remington Race Report.
The 2024 Remington Park Spring Quarter Horse season continues at Remington Park. The top horses in quarter horse racing are featured on Champions Night at Remington Park. Saturday, June 1st, is also the final night of the spring season with 7 Grade 1 stakes events led by the $1 Million Heritage Place Futurity. Thursday through Sunday, first race at 6 p.m. and Sundays at 4 p.m. Champions Night racing on June 1st will begin at 5 p.m. The best racing, simulcast racing, and jackpot casino action is all at Remington Park.
You've seen the billboards, you've heard the hype, and now it's time for the Wee Street Ice Center to open its doors and welcome you in. 140,000 square feet, 2 ice rinks, public skating, hockey, arcade, game simulators, and the largest sports bar and grill is sliding into Tulsa. It's the grand opening of the new Wee Street Ice Center, 43rd and Yale. Make your plans, get your skate on, or watch some sports today. The Wee Street Ice Center, now open and ready to serve you. Wee Street Ice Center, 43rd and Yale.
Our story, it lives in Tulsa, where the spirit of the past lives alongside us and urges us on toward a vibrant future. Because our story is still being written. It's the story of Tulsa, told by the journalists who live it and love it. Whether it's covering our rich history, bringing you the hidden gems of the food scene, or following the action in local sports. And here, in the Tulsa world, is where it comes to life.
It's time. Time to get back to the basics. Time to meet up with family and friends. Time to play ball. It's time to cheer on your Tulsa Drillers. It's Hornsby time. It's Tulsa time in the heart of the city. It's time to fire it up.
We now move into the final 2 weeks of racing this season at Remington Park. The Champions Night card on Saturday, June 1st features the richest card of the season. More than $2 million in racing that night, and the top qualifiers are now set for the Heritage Place Derby, the Heritage Place Oaks, and the Speed Horse Grand Futurity, all to be run on June 1st. Heritage Place Derby trials were held on Saturday, May 11th. Here's a look at your top qualifier out of the barn of trainer Jason Olmstead. They're off. Good start. Away sharply, Politico, Cardiac Cowboy on the outside. Know-It-All's right there from the rail. It is a Politico Whiplash. JC Prince of Torch starting to fire now. They're all trying to catch up to Cardiac Cowboy on the outside, who has the lead. Cardiac Cowboy is out by more than length and drawing clear. Cardiac Cowboy, impressive here to win it by more than 2. Cardiac Cowboy sits the top time at 400 yards. Owned by Joe Rice, trained by Olmstead, Ramiro Garcia had the winning ride. And Cardiac Cowboy qualifies fastest in a field of 10 headed to the June 1st Heritage Place Derby. Let's take a look at the rest of the field, including Dollar Bill second out of the barn of trainer Juan Diaz. Olmsted qualified the third fastest qualifier, just a redneck cowboy. Then Believe in Perry for trainer John Steinbow. Unrelentless and MFS Cheerio, both qualified by Eddie Willis. Then KGC If I Care, Casey Willis qualified. The final three, SC Time to Run, Politico, also trained by Eddie Willis, and JC Prince of Torts. Heritage Place Oaks trials were held on Mother's Day, May 12th. Deep Blue posted the best time out of the barn of trainer John Steinbow. They're off in the first Heritage Place Oaks trial. Good start for Sequoia. Win some. Also right there, Deep Blue now going for the front. The gray getting rolling. That's She's Smokestack. Farther out trying to find some run. BP Moonlight and She's My Chick. Deep Blue on top by more than length. Win some. Now flying outside. Here comes She's My Chick. Deep Blue, though, is well clear. Deep Blue, the best time at 400 yards for the Oaks qualifiers, owned by RDS Legacy Racing. Al Rivera had the winning ride. Deep Blue leads the way for the qualifiers with Midnight Ride second out of the barn of trainer Jed Vane. Heath Taylor qualified two third and fourth place qualifiers, Tempting Scout and Running to the Moon. Then San Lorenzo Blood from the Toby Keaton barn. Alley Cat Dynasty in their sixth, trained by Jesus Ruiz. She's My Chick, Rusty's Cowgirl, Separate Heart, and Relentless Fancy also in the Heritage Place Oaks. Speed Horse Grand Paint Appaloosa Futurity Trials conducted on Preakness Stakes Saturday, May 18th. Top qualifier came out of the third of 5 trials, WF Just Candy. They're off. T-Rexy, a horrible start out, sharply right on the lead, up there by good length already. From the outside, OG Nikki 6 beginning to gain. Toward the inside, T-Rexy coming on after the poor beginning. It is WF Just Candy still on top. Here's OG Nikki 6. Here's Cowgirl Chaos. And at the end, it will be WF Just Candy by 3/4. WF Just Candy is owned by Painted Faith Racing, Inola, Oklahoma. D. Keener, the trainer. Jockey was James Flores. D. Keener qualified 5 of the 10 finalists for the Grade 1 $230,000 plus Speed Horse Graham Futurity. Here's a look at your qualifying 10. WF Just Candy, PFR Road Rage, OG Nikki 6, Vesper Martini, the top 4, all trained by D. Keener. Then MH Cold Nights, Eddie Willis trains. Cowboy on the Fly, trained by Casey Willis. Straightaway Turnpike, Michelle Hurdle trainer. Bailey's in Blood, the 8th qualifier, Jed Vane trains. One more from the Keener barn, Cowgirl Chaos. And then PT Kaylee, trained by Matt Whitekiller in 10th for the Speed Horse Graham Futurity on Champions Night, June 1. The schedule for racing this week at Remington Park looks like this. First race Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night, 6 p.m. Sunday afternoon racing is at 4 p.m. And don't forget, June 1st is Champions Night, the final night of the season. Special start that night on Saturday, June 1 at 5 p.m. In Oklahoma City at Remington Park, I'm Dale Day. Now back to Sportscene.
We close out the month of May on Oklahoma Sportscene with a great lineup for you, including wrapping up the Oklahoma City Thunder's fantastic season. Western Division champions, one of the youngest NBA teams. Talk with an old friend of mine, the 88-year-old Hall of Fame trainer, D. Wayne Lucas. Became the oldest trainer to win a Triple Crown race when he won the Preakness a week ago. And the 18th St. Francis Tulsa Tough Bicycle Race getting ready to start in June. And Malcolm McCullum, the guy, is the executive director, will join us on that. So join us next week on Oklahoma Sportscene. Until then, as we always remind you, be a good sport.